Okay, today I read this book. Yeah, this one. One of the story is called "The Five Orange Pips." When I glanced over my notes and records of the Sherlock Holmes cases between the years 82 and 90, I was pleased by so many, which present strange and interesting features that is this no it's my turn to know which to choose, which to leave. Some, however, have already gained publicity through the papers, and others have now offered a field for those particular qualities which my friend possesses in so high a degree, and which is the object of these papers to illustrate. Some, too, have baffled his analytical skill and would be as narratives and beginnings without an ending, while others have been but partially cleaner have their explanation founded rather upon conjecture and surmise than on that absolute logical proof which was so dear to him. There is, however, one of those last which was so remarkable in its details and so startling in its result that I'm tempted to give some account of it in spite of the fact that there are points in connection with it which never have been and probably never will be entirely cleared up. The year 82 furnished us with the long series of cases of greater outliers interest of which I retained the records. Among my headings under this 112 months, I found an account of the adventure of the Pareto chamber of the amateur Mannequin Society, who held a luxury club in the lower vault of a furniture warehouse of the facts connected with the loss of the British bark, Sophie Anderson, of the singular adventures of the Grace Pattersons in the island of Ufa, and finally of the Camberwell poisoning case. In the later, as may be remembered, Sherlock Holmes was able, by waiting up the dead man's watch, to prove that it had been wound up 2 hours before, and that therefore the deceased had gone to bed with that time, a deduction which was of greatest importance in clearing up the case. All this I may sketch out at some future date, but none of them present such singular features as the strange train of circumstance which I have now taken up my pen to describe. It was in the later days of September, and the equinoctial gales had set in with exceptional violence. All day the wind had screamed, and the rain had beaten against the windows, so that even here in the heart of great handmade London, we were forced to raise our minds for the instant from the routine of life to recognize the presence of those great elemental forces which frigate mind can through the bars of his civilization, like an tamed beast in a cage. As evening drew in, the storm grew higher and louder, and the wind cried and sobbed like a child in the chimney. Sherlock Holmes sat moodily at one side of the fireplace, cross-indexing his records crime, while I at the other was dipping one of Clark Rousseau's 5 sea stories into the hull of the gale, from which out seemed to blend with the text. Under the splash of the rain, to lengthen out into the long swash of the sea waves. My wife was on visit to her mother's, and for a few days I was dwelled once more in my old quarters at the Back Street. Why, said I, glancing up at my companion, that was surely the bell. Who could it become tonight? Some friend of yours, perhaps, except yourself, I have done. He answered, I do not encourage visitors, so incline to them. If so, it is the serious case. Nothing less would bring a man out on such a day and at such an hour. But I take it that it's more likely to be some crowning the landlady's. Sherlock Holmes was wrong in his conjecture, however. For there came stepping the passage and tapping at the door. He stretched out his long arm to turn the lamp away from himself, then toward the bank and the chair upon which a newcomer must sit. Come in, said he. The man who entered was young, some 22, at the outside, well-groomed and trimly clad, with something of refinement and delicacy in his bearing. The streaming umbrella which he held in his hand and his long, shining, waterproof told the fierce weather through which he had come. He looked about him anxiously in the glare of the lamp, and I could see that his face was pale and his eyes heavy, like those of a man who is weighed down with some great anxiety. I owe you an apology, he sighed, raising his golden pennies to his eyes. I trust that I'm not intruding. I fear that I brought some traces of the storm and rain into your snug chamber. Give me a coat and umbrella, said Holmes. They must run here on the hook and will be dry presently. You have come up from the southwest, I see, yes, from Horsham. That clay and the chalk mixture which I see upon your toe caps is quite distinctive. I have some for advice. That is the leak out and help. That is not always so easy. I've heard of you, Mr. Holmes. I heard from Major Brain. Dirk asked how you saved him in the Tarkenville Club, the scandal. Oh, of course, he was wrongfully accused of cheating at cards. He signed that you could sum anything. You sound too much. Oh, that you have never beaten. I've been beaten 4 times, 3 times by men, and only once by a woman. But what is that compared with the number of your success? Is it true that I've been generally successful? Then you may be so with me. I beg that you will draw your chair up to the fire and favor me with some details as to your case. It is not ordinary one. None of those which come to me are. I'm the last court of appeal. Yes. Yes. And yet, I question, sir, whether in all of your experience you have ever listened to a more mysterious and inexplicable chain of events than those which had happened in my own family. You fill me with interest, said Holmes. Pray, give us the essential factor from the commencement, that I can afterwards question you as to those details which seem to me to be most important. The young man pulled his chair up and pushed his white feet down towards the blaze. My name, said he, is John Openshaw, but my own affairs have, as far as I can understand, little to do with this awful business. It's the hereditary matter. So, in order to give you an idea of the fact, I must go back to the commencement of the affair. You must know that my grandfather has 2 sons. My uncle Ellis and father Joseph. My father had a small factory at Coventry, which enlarged at the time of the invention of bicycling. He was the patentee of the open shell and breakable tire, and his business we met with such success that he was able to sell it and to retire upon a handsome competence. My uncle Elias immigrated to America when he was a very young man and became a planter in Florida. When he was reported to have done very well at the time of the war, he fought in Jackson's army, and afterwards under Hood, where he rose to be a colonel. When Lee laid down his arm, my uncle returned to his plantation, where he remained for 3 or 4 years. After 1869 or 1890, he came back to Europe and took a small estate in uh, Sussex near Horsham. He had made a very considerable fortune in the state, and his reason for leaving them was his aversion to the Negroes and his dislike of the Republican policy in extending the franchise to them. He was the singular man, fierce and quick-tempered, very foul-mouthed when he was angry, of most retiring disposition. During all the years he lived in Horsham, I doubt if ever he set foot in the town. He had gotten into a refuse around his house, and there he would take his exercise, though very often for weeks on end. He would never leave his room. He drank a great deal of brandy and smoked very heavily, but he would uh, see no society and did not want any friend, not even his own brother. He didn't mind me. In fact, he took a fancy to me, for at the time when he saw me first, I was the youngest of 12, and so this would be in the year 1878, after he had been 8 or 9 years in England. He begged my father to let me live with him, and he was very kind to me in his way. When he was sober, he used to be fond of playing backgammon and jaws with me, and he would make me his representative both with servant and with the trade people. So that by the time I was 16, I was quite master of the horse. I kept all the keys and could go where I liked and do what I like as long as I did not to disturb him in the privacy. There was one singular exception, however, for he had the single room, lumber room up among the attics, which was invariably locked, and which he would never permit either me or anyone else to enter. With a boy's curiosity, I have peeped through the keyhole, but I was never able to see more than such a collection of old trunks or bundles that would be expected in such a room. One day, it was in March 1883, a letter with the foreign stamp lay up on the table in front of the colonel's plate. It was not a common thing for him to receive letters, for his bills were all paid in ready money, and he had no friend of any sort from India, said he as he took it up. Ponytree postmark. What can this be? Opening it hurriedly, out there jumped the 5 little dried orange pips, which pattered down on his plate. I began to laugh at all this, but the laugh was struck from my lips at the sight of his face. His lip had fallen, his eyes were protruding, his skin the color of putty, and he glanced at the envelope which he still held in his trembling hand. K. He shook it, and then, my God, my things have overtaken me. What is it, uncle? I cried. Thus, said he, rising from the table, he tried to his room, leaving my palpitating with sorrow. I took up the enveloped and saw scrawled in red ink upon the inner flap just about the letter K 3 times repeated. There was nothing else except 5 dried pips. What could be the reason of his overpowering terror? I left the breakfast table, and as I was ascending the stair, Hermione coming down with an old rusty key, which must have belonged to the attic in one hand, and a small brass box like the cash box in the other. They may do what they like, but I will checkmate them still, said the son. He winked and noticed. Tell Mary that I shall want a fire in my room today, and sat down to the for them. And Horsham lawyer. I did as he ordered. And when the lawyer arrived, I was asked to step out to the room. The fire was burning brightly, and in the grate there was a mass of fluffy ashes as though for burnt paper, while the brass box was still open and empty. Beside it, as I glanced at the box and noticed with the stop that open, the lid was printed to the treble K, which I had read in the morning. Upon the envelope, I wish you join Salma. I go to witness my will. I live my accident with all its advantages and all its disadvantages to my brother your father. When as the will, no doubt, no descend to you. If you can enjoy it in peace, well and good. If you find you cannot, take my advice, my boy. Leave it to your that is the enemy. I'm sorry to give you such a two-edged thing, but I can say what turn things are going to take. Kindly sign the paper where Mr. Fortnum shows you. I signed the paper as directed, and the lawyer took it away with them. The singular incident made, as you may think, the deepest impression of me, and I pondered over it and turned it every way in my mind without being able to make anything of it. Yet I could not shake off the weak feeling of dread which it left behind, though the sensation grew less keen as the weeks passed, and nothing happened to disturb the routine of our life. I could see it change my ankle, however, it dragged more than ever. And she was not inclined for any sort of society. Most of his time he would spend in his room with the door locked up in the inside, but sometimes would emerge in a sort of drunken frenzy and would burst out of the house and tear about the garden with the revolver in his hand, screaming out to what he was afraid of no man, and he was not able to cope up like the shearing of pen by men or devil. When these hot feats were over, however, he would rush tumultuously in at the door and lock and bar it behind me like a man who can brazen it out no longer against the terror which lies the roots of his soul at such times that I've seen his face, even on a cold day, glistening with moisture as though it were nourished from the basin. Well, to come to an end of the matter, Mr. Holmes, and not to abuse the practice, there came the night when he made one of these drunken sallies from which he never came back. We found him, but when we went to search for him, he face downward in a little green, scammed pool which lay at the foot of the garden. There was no sign of any violence, and the water was but 2 feet deep, so that the jury, having regarded to his known uh, eccentricity, probably a verdict of suicide. But I, who knew he winced from the very sound of dice, had much ado to persuade myself that he had gone out of his way to meet it. The matter passes, however. My father entered into possession of the estate and of some 14,000 pounds, which lay to his credit at the bank. At one moment, Holmes interposed. Your statement is, I foresee, one of the most remarkable to which I have ever listened. Let me have the date of the reception by your uncle of the letter and the date of his supposed suicide. The letter arrived on March 10, 1883, and his death was 7 weeks later upon the night of May 2nd. Thank you. Pray proceed.